And the response that we've seen in polling from Republicans suggests that they're going to stick with him, that it's more of a cult than a political party at this point, and they're going to stick with their leader.
Former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton giving her take on Republicans following Donald Trump's indictment. Making those comments during an interview with the Pod Save America podcast, where no doubt she felt pretty comfortable in front of the crowd. Joining us now, former New Jersey governor and 2024 presidential candidate Chris Christie. It's great to have you.
Hello, sir.
When I first heard that yesterday, I just couldn't believe it. Like, they learned nothing. The deplorables comment was arguably the thing that made most Trump voters say, you know what, I am going to stick with him, and yet they're still at it.
Well, look, she is the most tone-deaf person I've ever seen get a major party nomination for president of the United States. She was the most unpopular presidential candidate on Election Day, on the year she was the nominee in 2016. And candidly, Dana, you know, she is so yesterday's news that all of us should just look at it and say, thank God we all worked as hard as we did to make sure she wasn't president of the United States in 2016. And she's out of it. And I don't think even Democrats listen to her.
How would you characterize the support, though, of President Trump on this indictment by Republicans?
Look, I don't think the support's on the indictment. I think there's two ways to look at this at the same time. There's no doubt that all of us need to be concerned about how these choices get made. I did this for 7 years. I made the decisions about how people were going to be investigated, who got indicted and who didn't. And when you see that she did not get indicted in 2016, and now Donald Trump has in 2023, of course Republicans are going to be angry about that. And we should have a conversation about that and how we reform DOJ to make it a place where they go ahead with no fear or favor, no prejudice, no partisanship. But I don't think that most Republicans support the conduct that's detailed in that indictment. It's reckless, it's harmful to American national security, and it doesn't show the kind of judgment that you need to be an effective president during difficult times.
You may be right about that. I'm looking at these polling numbers, and he's crushing it. Here's one from June 5th through the 9th. What is this, Suffolk University? Trump's at 48%. There's others who have him well over 50%. I saw one poll with him at 61%. And you've gotten into this campaign saying that you're going to be the biggest critic that Donald Trump has. And I look at these numbers, and I wonder, do Republican primary voters want a critic of Donald Trump?
I think they want a campaign. And you know, Bill, those numbers all exist at a time when there has been no campaign yet. This campaign will start in earnest in August, when the debates start, sponsored by the RNC, and folks in this country and in our party really engage. Those numbers are obviously going to be there. He is, in essence, the incumbent in this race. And when you're running against an incumbent, that's where the incumbent's going to start. But in the end, we're going to make a case that we have done nothing but lose since Donald Trump has been the leader of this party. Nothing but lose. 2018, we lost the House. 2020, we lost the White House and the Senate. 2022, we lost 2 more governorships, another Senate seat, and we barely took the House of Representatives against Joe Biden, who is the most incompetent president I've seen since Jimmy Carter. That is a failure of leadership by Donald Trump. He picked most of those candidates who lost, and he has led us down a path of losing. And what are the ramifications for that, Bill? Dana, record inflation, botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, sending the country into an educational tailspin because we're excluding parents from their children's education.
The border.
And the border is ridiculous. And Trump, and by the way,
policies did much better on everything you just mentioned.
But wait a second, Bill. His policies did not do better at the border, okay? At the border, we had a diminution in what we're seeing now. But remember what he promised in 2016. He was going to build a wall across the entire border in his first 4 years, and Mexico was going to pay for it. Well, we got a wall that's about a quarter of the way done, and Mexico hasn't given us 1 peso yet. So, you know, Donald Trump in 2016 was a guy who had no record, so he couldn't be examined in a very specific way. He now said he was going to do that with immigration. And by the way, had Congress for the first 2 years fully controlled by the Republicans, not one change in the immigration laws. So, of course, Joe Biden could come in and make things better.
So on a debate stage, he's going to say Biden stopped it. And you can go down to the border today and see piles of steel that are just laying there in the Arizona desert.
Yeah, Bill, those piles of steel have been sitting there since Donald Trump was president. He didn't get it done. He couldn't convince the Republican Congress to fund the wall. He couldn't finish it. And he didn't change one immigration law. Now, look, Joe Biden is an awful president, We all agree on that. He's terrible and he has made things worse. But why is Joe Biden sitting in the White House? He's sitting in the White House because he beat Donald Trump in 2020. Another in the string of losing that Donald Trump has led us to. He's a 3-time loser, and we don't want to have a 4-time loser.
One of the things that I would say, one of the things that President Trump did that Biden doesn't is support the Border Patrol. Like the men and women who are on the ground there doing all of that. Today, the Republicans are wondering about the possibility of impeaching Secretary Mayorkas for a lack of work on the border. In addition to that, other candidates, including Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is suggesting that he wants to take on the DOJ, reform the DOJ and the FBI, and what they consider the weaponization of the Justice Department against the people. You worked at the Justice Department. Do you think it needs a wholesale clear out at DOJ or the FBI?
I think what we need is a strong attorney general who knows how to direct the leadership at DOJ. And we haven't had one. Look, and Donald Trump didn't give us one. He gave us Jeff Sessions, who the first thing he did was recuse himself from the Russia investigation. And Jeff Sessions and his deputy attorney general appointed Bob Mueller and sent us down that road. At the time, I was saying this was wrong. The attorney general shouldn't have recused. So let me tell you, Eric Holder was a bad attorney general, Jeff Sessions was a bad attorney general, and Merrick Garland's a bad attorney general. You know what we could do? We should get a great attorney general. And I did this job as U.S. attorney in New Jersey for 7 years, and I know what it will take to get a good attorney general there who will lead and lead without fear or favor.
2 more things here. You haven't been to Iowa?
Not yet. Only been in the race a week, though, Bill.
And, you know, I get it, but if you don't do well in Iowa and you don't do well in New Hampshire, the argument that you're going to make against Trump is just going to fall flat.
Well, I guess I should just quit today then,
Well,
Bill. I mean, look, the bottom line is, at this time in the race in 2015, Donald Trump was at 4%. That's where he was. In June of 2015, he was at 4%. At this time in 2007, Barack Obama was down by 37 points to Hillary Clinton. And guess what? Those last 2 names are the last 2 presidents of the United States before Joe Biden. So don't count me quite out yet, Bill.
I was just suggesting you need an early victory in order to stay in the race and make
Everybody does, Bill.
Last point.
How about Ron DeSantis? You think he needs an early victory?
But when we get a chance to interview him, we'll ask him the same question.
Okay.
On the issues, where do you guys disagree? I looked at the abortion case. I mean, you favor, allow the states to determine this.
Yes, sir.
I think Donald Trump's on the same page with you on that. You want to be tough on China. He was tough on China.
He wasn't near. Let's stop there.
You would change rules on Social Security so that the wealthy would not receive Social Security checks. So maybe there's a distinction there. But if you're on stage with him on August 23rd, right, you have an opportunity in front of millions of American people to say, here is how I will be different.
He's a failed leader. We gave him a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and he failed. He failed us, Bill. And he failed us by losing the House, by losing the Senate, and by turning over the White House to Joe Biden and the most liberal administration and an effective administration since Jimmy Carter. Is that the type of leadership we want, or do we want someone who is governed in a blue state, showing that you can win independent voters, got 61% of the vote for re-election in a state like New Jersey as a Republican, and worked with the Democratic legislature to get pension reform, to fire the Camden City Police Department, leading to a 75% reduction in the murder rate, and gave more educational choice than in any blue state in the country, more charter schools and choice in the city of Newark, and did that with a Democratic legislature. Is that what we need in Washington, or do we need Donald Trump whining, moaning, and making everything about him? He doesn't care about the American people, Bill. He's putting himself first. And if you watched that speech yesterday at Bedminster, where's he talking about America and the American people and their concerns and their needs? This next administration, if Donald Trump's president, will be all about retribution for him personally. Is that the show we want to watch? Is that the rerun of The Apprentice we want? It's not what I want.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
Please come back.
You have about 10 weeks to the debate.
Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to it.
Great to have you here. Thank you so much.
See you there. Thanks.
Got it.